Hello everyone, I'm back. Here's the part 2. I mentioned in the previous video that I'm going to talk about Israel's territory and why we don't really see millennial kingdom buildings built in the original Israel territory. I'm not talking about the fake one there in Palestine, I'm talking about the real one in Africa. And previously in my life I was thinking about the subject and why don't we see so many of these buildings in original Israel. And I think there's two reasons mainly. The one is prophecy concerning the second Exodus, and that Israel is desolate today until the second Exodus. Yahweh purposely left it desolate because of prophecy. And we'll go through some of these prophecies in Isaiah. And in future, as I find more evidence in the other prophets, I will also maybe make updates or make new videos also mentioning those verses. But we already have quite a few verses in Isaiah itself mentioning the desolation of Israel until the second Exodus. And that is why, because it's desolate, because the millennial kingdom came before the second Exodus. The second Exodus is only going to happen now in our lifetime, in our generation, in the 8th day. We are living in the 8th day on the calendar. And yes, in the times we are living is after the millennial kingdom, is after the 7,000 years, which is called the 8th day, or between 7,001 and 8,000 years. So that's where we are at the moment. Okay, so let me start with Isaiah here. Rejoice, thou thirsty wilderness, let the wilderness be glad, and let it blossom like a lily. And the deserted places of the Jordan shall blossom and be glad, and the glory of Lebanon has been given to it, as well as the honor of Carmel, and my people shall see the glory of Yahuwah and the loftiness of Yahuwah. This refers to the second Exodus period, where the desolate wilderness of Yahuwah, that he kept so all these years, will be inhabited again by his true Israelite nation, which is all part of what Yahweh promised Abraham in the everlasting covenant that he made with Abraham in Genesis. In it he said that he will give Canaan the territory as for Israel as an inheritance for Abraham and his descendants. As he promised in the beginning of the Bible, he's going to fulfill it in the end of the Bible. See, it says Isaiah 49, verse 19, because your desolate and spoiled and ruined places will now be crowded on account of your inhabitants, and those who swallow you up will be far away from you. Again, we see here that Yahweh will inhabit these desolate places of Israel, and it's not just Jerusalem, he's mentioning other places too, other cities, other towns. Basically the whole Israel area isn't occupied by Israelites today. And that might give you a hint on who I think Israel is. But yes, the territories are not inhabited by Israelites today. Isaiah 52, verse 9. Let the waste places of Jerusalem break forth in joy together, because Yahweh has had mercy upon her and has delivered Jerusalem. Isaiah 54, verse 3. Spread forth thy tent, yet ye to the right and to the left, for the seed shall inherit the Gentiles, and thou shalt make the desolate cities to be inhabited. There's so many places in Isaiah alone already that mentions that until the second Exodus happens, these places will be desolate. Is Israel at the moment, the fake Israel and Jerusalem, is it desolate? No, it's not. So it's not the real one then, according to prophecy. Because the real one must be desolate. Isaiah 58 verse 12, and thy old west desert places shall be built up, and their foundations shall last through all generations. See, that's important, all generations. And thou shalt be called a repairer of breaches, and thou shalt cause the paths, thy paths between to be in peace. We see here that it is throughout all generations. So when this happens, when this rebuild takes place, it's going to be unto all generations from that point forward. It talks here about the waste desert places shall be built up again. This hasn't happened yet. This must happen now. In our generation, it's going to probably start happening. Yahweh, through the people, through Israel, is going to rebuild these places, and they were going to occupy these places again. The original Israel territory. Isaiah 60, 14 and 15. And the sons of them that afflicted you, and of them that provoked you, shall come to you in fear, and ye shall be called Zion, the city of the Holy One of Israel, because you have become desolate and hated. There was no helper, therefore I will make you a perpetual gladness, a joy of many generations. Again, future generations will have everything rebuilt and restored. It won't be destroyed again. So clearly this is talking about future, with the second Exodus, when this will happen. It says here that the nations fear. Why do they fear? It's because Yahuwah gathered his true Israel, and Yahuwah is protecting them. So they fear because his true people are standing up again. They are worshipping and serving Yahuwah as they're supposed to. And these nations will then become subservient to Israel because they take in their inherited place in Yahuwah's kingdom. They're taking their place where they're supposed to be and what they are supposed to be. They are fulfilling that. And that's why the nations are afraid. Because at the moment the nations are trampling through Israel. They're trampling through Israel. And as we read in Isaiah that Yahuwah is only going to save a remnant of Israel. Because he says in these prophecies of Isaiah that although Israel is as the sand of the sea, as he said to Abraham, his descendants would be, only a remnant will be saved. And this remnant is those who keep the commandments of Yahuwah through faith in Yahushua, not Christians. If you're a Christian, you're not a true Israelite. If you are a Christian that keeps the commandments of Yahuwah, yes, then you're an Israelite. It's as simple as that. The Bible clearly teaches us that we must keep the commandments to be saved. It's part of the salvation process. You show through your actions that you believe. If you believe that Yahushua died for your lawlessness, you prove that you believe this by stop living lawless. It's as simple as that. Stop making excuses. Stop using Paul to preach lawlessness. If Paul makes you stumble, if Paul teaches opposite of what Yahushua taught, who must you reject? Must you reject Messiah or must you reject Paul? Of course you must reject Paul if he makes you stumble. But I know that Paul preached in line with the rest of the Bible. But sadly, almost nobody understands his letters. Okay, I'm finished with my rant. Let's see Isaiah 61 verse 4. They shall build the old waste places, they shall raise up those that were before made desolate, and shall renew the desert cities, even those that had been desolate for many generations. We see here, many generations here is actually a very, very long time. If you think about it, it's around from 70 CE till today. That's a very long time. From that period up to 500 CE, Rome was in power. They didn't rebuild these places. They became desolate. And then also there was the reset with the millennial kingdom that happened. And there was 1,000 years reign of peace on earth. And now we are just after that 1,000 years. About, I would say 250, 240 around there, years into the 8th day. So yes, it's a long time ago, this. Many generations. So Israel's territory has been desolate and not inhabited by Israelites for a very long time. But that's about to change. Let me just read this again, because there's a verse later, a few verses on that we can add to this. And they shall build the old waste places, and they shall raise up those that were before made desolate, and shall renew the desert cities, even those that had been desolate for many generations. Thus shall they inherit the land a second time, and everlasting joy shall be upon their head. This clearly shows that he is talking about a second Exodus. They will inherit these places a second time. The first Exodus, they went and inherited this place. Now the second Exodus, they will go and inherit this place a second time. Clearer than that we can't get. It's talking about the second Exodus. And this clearly then shows us that these places at the moment are desolate, because the second Exodus hasn't happened yet. And the people are not going to gather in fake Israel. Well, some people will, sadly. But in the end, the majority of the true Israelites will gather in the true place, the correct place, which at first would be South Africa. And from there, Yahuwah will allow them to move back into the original Israel just above South Africa, up to the equator. Interesting enough, this was also prophesied by a Boer prophet, Nicholas van Rensburg, that Israel, well, he didn't say Israel because he didn't receive this revelation. He just saw the visions of what will happen, that the white Israelites will gather in South Africa and live in tents there along the coastlines. And then he also mentioned that in the end they will take up to the equator, they will take back the country up to the equator. Why? He didn't know why, but today we know why. It's because that's the original territory of Israel, that the true Israelites with the second Exodus will take back. It's amazing. And it's amazing that Yahuwah gave this true prophet, or Boer prophet, these revelations. He thought it was just white Christians that will flee to South Africa and they will take up to the equator eventually. He didn't know that this is actually talking about the second Exodus. It's actually talking about true Israel gathering in South Africa. Isaiah 62 verse 4. Thou shalt no more be called forsaken, and thy land shall no more be called desert, for you shall be called my pleasure, and your land inhabited. For Yahuwah has taken pleasure in you, and your land shall be inhabited. Another prophecy. So you see in Isaiah so many prophecies concerning this rebuilding and restoration of Israel territories, of these desolate places being inhabited again. And Yahuwah protecting his people there. Amazing. Isaiah 64 verse 10. The city of your holiness has become desolate. Zion has become as a wilderness, Jerusalem a curse. And of course Yahuwah will lift this curse in future with the second Exodus, and people will move back and inhabit again. Hallelujah, praise Yahuwah. This is wonderful news. So what can we do about this? Don't go to South Africa now, because it's not yet prepared for the Christians to go there, for the white Christians. It's still under the control of Satan and Also, it's under the control of the communist parties, evil people. So in future, Yahweh is going to release the country from the grip of evil, and he will give it back to true Israel, and they will then prepare the place for the coming of the other Israelites worldwide. And when the wars come to those countries where those Israelites are, they're going to flee to either fake Israel or true Israel. I hope they receive this message of mine, because then they will maybe flee to the correct Israel. Because if they flee to the wrong Israel, they'll die there. Because as I have it, that Israel will be nuked. So you don't want to be there. Rather go to the real Israel, where they would gather. According to prophecy, the Bible tells us that Israel in the second Exodus will gather in South Africa. It's in Zephaniah 3 verse 10. It says there that they will gather in the bottom part of Africa. And in my previous videos I give other verses too that shows where the true Israelites will be gathered. Talking about Ophir, Queen Saba, and Tarshish, and Dedan. So there you have it, people. This is the message that I wanted to bring concerning where Israel is going to gather, and that they're going to take back a territory up to the equator, because that's where Israel's territory were before. And if you want, for interest's sake, let me give you a tip what you can look at. Go to Google Maps, type in Mount Hor, but with 2 R's. You'll see in Kenya, there's a Mount Hor. Or just type in Hor with 2 R's, and it will take you to Mount Hor in Kenya. It's just above the equator. And then go to Numbers 34 and check where is the northern border of Israel. You will read there in Numbers 34 that Mount Hor is the northern border of Israel. You draw a line from the West Sea up to Mount Hor, and from Mount Hor you draw a line to the entrance of Hamath. Now the entrance of Hamath, I believe, is just above Somalia. That I believe to be the entrance of Hamath. And as my wife said, she thinks it refers to where Israel entered Africa again from Arabia. There at the bottom of Arabia, there was a land bridge where they came back into Africa through what the area we call today Ethiopia. And even in Ethiopian Orthodox writings, they mention that they saw a Semitic people come into Africa over that land bridge in the past. Yes, very interesting. So I think that's entrance of Hamath, and that's the northern border of Israel. Go look it up yourself if you want. Go to Google Maps, type in Mount Hor, or just Hor, H-O-R-R. And you'll go to Kenya and you'll see where exactly was the northern border. And that's up to there, that will be taken back. Praise Yahuwah. And praise Yahuwah that we are living in these times when these things are going to happen. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuwah. Yahuwah is awesome. Praise Yahuwah.